Much.
Mhm.
Uh,
Thank you.
okay, so my paper is called The Carbon Footprint of Large Language Models, the Case of ChatGPT. And it was some work. It's still preliminary, hasn't been published yet. And we got some really good feedback from the reviewers. I'm working with Vinatash Misra from the UAE and Suraj Kul from India. So, yeah, I thank them a lot for their contributions. The problem statement is that rapid adoption of large language models, such as ChatGPT, drives a surge in electricity consumption. And training emissions are well publicized, but daily user queries now account for a significant portion of energy use. And public data on large language models, energy, and CO2 emissions are scarce, leaving policymakers and firms without guidance. And so our research question is, how will ChatGPT's carbon footprint evolve under a business as usual, and which levers could bend the curve? And here are a couple of references. There's other references in the paper that is available online. Okay, so our approach is it captures the feedback among user growth, um, usage intensity, hardware efficiency, and grid decarbonization. And we calibrated it with early data up until 2025, where we looked at the early growth of ChatGPT users adopting the software or adopting the tool. And then we also have data on the number of queries per month over a period of time that we calibrated the model for. Primarily, we were looking at a such system with exponential growth, and we all know that exponential growth can't go on forever, so we had to try to estimate some kind of a limit to growth. And the limit to growth that we chose was basically some kind of comparison with the adoption limits of Facebook, which has tended to stabilize now after early growth. And basically, so we felt that the adoption of ChatGPT in terms of limits could be modeled with data from Facebook, which has been around for many years and has reached a certain saturation level. We tested three scenarios. The baseline scenario was no efficiency gains and a heavy use of fossil fuels in the grid. Then we had a moderate mitigation scenario where we had a 50% efficiency gain in the algorithm's use of electricity. And then we also had a 30% growth in carbon-free energy. And then we had an aggressive mitigation with an 80% efficiency gain in the usage of electricity per query, and a 95% growth in the carbon-free energy. So the results that we have show we have the baseline where emissions plateau at 12 megatons of CO2 per month. And the reason they plateau is because the number of users plateaus and the number of queries plateaus, but it does plateau at a very high level. And so here's the results of the baseline. You can see it's plateauing uh, around 10 years. And then we have the moderate mitigation. So we have emissions peaking at 7 megatons per month and then gradually declining. You can see that in the orange curve. And then we have aggressive mitigation with emissions peaking at 3 megatons and per month and then declining. And so our key insight is that early and concurrent action on efficiency and clean energy decouples AI growth from emissions. So our conclusions are that without intervention, large language models will become a non-trivial new industry emitter. We have recommendations that we should mandate transparent energy and carbon disclosure for AI providers. We should set performance per watt targets and reward efficient model architectures. We should contract new carbon-free power for data centers and align with 24/7 carbon-free energy goals. And for future work, we're looking at incorporating rebound effects, such as the idea that that when we become more efficient, we use it more often, and when we have less emissions, we also can increase our usage. We also think that we can get into hardware supply chain emissions and other AI verticals. Thank you very much for your attention. And just a quick question. I got a lot of email messages today saying that people had questions about this presentation, and I didn't know how to access them.
Oh, yeah, that is comments on the event. Somebody was confused about the Zoom link.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Ivan, this is Lou.
Hello.
Yeah, great presentation. I think maybe that someday we'll all have a carbon footprint like we do when we buy a plane ticket for how much we use ChatGPT. So obviously this kind of a model has a lot of connections to everything, to economics, right? To quality of life, to even weather patterns, because a lot of this heat and stuff that's generated. I live in the Northern Virginia area, and I think half of the 5,000 data centers that are in this country right now are here. There's like a new one built going up every week, and
Wow.
it's kind of nuts. But I think that's an important topic to consider. Yeah. Mitigating that stuff. I just wonder if it can be mitigated. Because all these things like they consume so much electricity, and all that's still mostly dependent on coal and natural gas.
Yeah. If you get a chance to look at the paper that is online, you'll see how I modeled the idea of pressure on the AI providers to become more efficient and pressure on the energy providers to become more carbon free. So basically, it was sort of an idea that as more energy is being used, there's more pressure created for AI providers to try to be more efficient. And similarly, as more emissions are put out, there's more pressure on the energy providers to become more carbon free. So sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I
No,
looked at the numbers on this and it's something like in the neighborhood of $12 trillion a year to keep these things running, to pay off the mortgages and keep them running. The electricity alone, is gonna so it'd be at least half of that. So um I'm wondering if you, in your research, did you find out that the electricity to run the cards in these data centers or the cooling systems were going to consume most of the electricity? I would say the latter, right? Cooling system.
well, we didn't actually model in that level of detail. We just took an aggregated value. We were looking at the queries that people made to ChatGPT, and we had an estimate of a certain kilowatts of energy per query. So that's what we did, and then we tried to figure out, multiplied how many queries there were to get a total energy usage, and then we tried to reduce the energy usage by reducing the energy required per query. So we didn't really get into the details of where that energy was was being used.
I've had a lot of questions here, but I'll let other people ask questions. I'd love to follow up with you.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions online on the chat. Um, do you think that additional AI applications and more powerful LLMs will just add more curves into the future? Well, yeah, we did model the explosion. Basically, we had exponential growth in the number of queries, and so we felt that in the next 10 years, large language models would become embedded in normal workflows of most people's work, and that led to this exponential growth going on for the next 10 years or so in queries. However, we as I said, exponential growth can't go on forever, and eventually there's going to be a limit. Like I said, we basically used a simple model of what the limit would be, based on adoption of other types of software. But yeah, I think basically the answer to that question is that we tried to model the integration of generative AI into people's everyday workflow. And the second question is, does your model incorporate some aspects of water, or will this be something that is incorporated later? Yeah, I didn't do anything with water in this model. It was just energy. But that's a very good comment, that we should look at the water in the cooling systems and the impact of those cooling systems on the environment. But yeah, so that's a great point, and we should definitely put that into our future work section. Okay, thank you, everybody, and you can definitely contact me at any time. Um, I'm also a mentor in the one-on-one mentoring program, and if you're interested in getting involved in one-on-one mentoring, you can use my name and apply on the society website.
Thank you so much. And again, there's the link at the top of the chat is the list of participants, and